Hello, I'm Yana Lishenko, and I am a Google logistician. I bring target audiences to businesses with the required parameters. This means that I know how to find your target audience, bring them to your website, and use this to scale your online sales. In today's video, I would like to showcase one of the cases, or rather one case. I think it is of average difficulty, not the most difficult, but not the easiest either, especially in terms of very quick and adequate scaling reactions. Today, we will be looking at an online store. The theme we will call children's products to maintain the client's confidentiality in this highly competitive environment. What do we have? We have an online store. The promotion country is Germany. A client came with a request stating that there are very few sales and they can't break through the ceiling in their volume. We need to somehow address this in the overall dynamics. I will compare the period, for example, May, when he came to us, although May was already declining for him towards the end, and the last 30 days, from October 24th to November 22nd directly. Here you can see the volume of conversions in the screenshot. These are all the purchases that were registered. Moreover, there are actually many more of these purchases. Why are there more of them? Because we use the Shopify platform, which utilizes the Shopify payment system, and one of the payment options in Shopify payments, unfortunately, does not record some of the conversions for us, but that's okay. You can also see the actual rate here, but here are the clicks and impressions, and I'm not sure if you need them or not. One could add this to show the correlation, because traffic volumes do not always correlate with conversion volumes. So, what did the client come with? It is relatively clear that we need to increase the number of conversions of a certain type. What challenges did we face? Well, it's about increasing sales through regular shopping ad campaigns. Let's put it this way in general. For an online store, let's say the market is Germany. What types of advertising campaigns can you run on Google? You have a small selection of options. Searches display CMS, banner advertising is YouTube ads, and directly Google Shopping. For 9 out of 10 stores, the main turnover and conversions will come only from Google Shopping. It will account for 60% or more of the turnover. These are well-optimized shopping ad campaigns. Everything else is supplementary, but not the main determining factor. In this case, the client already came with running ad campaigns, as I mentioned. There are two formats of Google Shopping. These are regular shopping campaigns and smart shopping campaigns, which are called Performance Max. I think you have heard of them. So, what is the difficulty? Regular commercial advertising campaigns were very slow in generating sales. Why is this happening, and why is it so hard to boost performance? I will explain this to Max now. What is the difficulty of promoting in the European market? First, Europeans are very slow to make purchases. For example, if you take the American or Ukrainian market, where people come, see, and make an impulsive purchase or buy something on the spot when there's a need, the process is stretched out over time. For Germans, there is a certain period of time, in our case from 2 to 3 days, during which people continue to interact with your site. In other words, the process of making a sale extends to at least 3, or even up to 7 days, because some people take longer to convert. There are also many interactions not only with your site, but also with other competitors. And you need to fit into a certain or achieved ROAS, that is, return on ad spend, or the volume of conversions. You definitely need to fit in to achieve direct results, because we are not Bill Case, who is ready to give. Bill Case is not ready to give all the money to Google to get these sales, right? So we have limitations within which we need to work through this whole situation. This is a certain limiting factor in the growth rates of any smart company's performance in terms of conversion volumes, because here we started, so to speak, from scratch. We had a rather specific set of problems in this account. Our goals were deleted. Let's do it this way, before I describe the problems and how to deal with them conditionally. I am writing a general overview. Performance Max. What is it? Because here we are scaling with Performance Max. These are essentially smart campaigns that use Google's artificial intelligence to find the target audience. What does this mean? This means that if we take the story about artificial intelligence, Roughly speaking, it is indeed a system that can work, process, analyze, and produce some result for further use based on a certain database. For the advertising account, the database is the analytics or user behavior during the purchase, who has already bought from us. Or if they performed some micro actions on our site, but these micro actions precede our purchase. In other words, the larger the statistical sample, the more it is in the account, the higher the probability that subsequent iterations of edits or adjustments in our account will lead to certain events. In our case, this means generating revenue directly for the client. Agree, everything is relatively simple in this context. So, what do we have here? We need to compile this database and provide it to Google. Moreover, there is a common belief on the internet that you need to create this advertising campaign conditionally performance max and just give it some period of waiting. I will further show you a set of advertising campaign tests that we conducted during different periods of this year, 2023, to simply get closer to this current result. Because if you take a similar structure in another country, but with lower conversion volumes and different test options, the result there is significantly lower. So, simply giving a waiting period to the conditionally artificial intelligence of Google in hopes of some sort of conditional miracle is inherently incorrect in the context of Google Ads. Well, this has been verified in practice because several countries were launched here. Next, what challenges did we face? Firstly, target conversions were removed from the account, disrupting the process of tracking them. Well, it doesn't matter how it happened hypothetically. The point is that we had to return it, and accordingly, doing it remotely is not always as simple as flipping a switch, like with a light. Sometimes this produces a certain subsequent advertising account, including the database, which will be used by artificial intelligence. Secondly, most of our payments are made through Shopify payments, and consequently, we do not see some of the conversions. We only see a portion of these conversions. Thirdly, Google itself delays the conversion analytics in the account. I will show you this analytics for the last 30 days, and it will be somewhat misleading, meaning that in reality, there will be even more conversions and the profitability will be slightly higher than the values you will see in the profitability column. Why does this happen? Because unfortunately, Google doesn't really allow us to see information as promptly as we would like. We would prefer 24/7 access, but it uploads with a delay of at least 72 hours. The difficulty lies not only in the fact that something was deleted or the database was modified, presumably for working with artificial intelligence, but also in the fact that even if you restore it, it's not enough to just leave it idle for performance. During this short period, it seems, since June 2023, we have conducted a lot of tests on different performance structures to achieve these results. We have 297 purchases, and here the RS is actually showing at 803%. This is an even lower result, in fact, even less than what Google will recalculate for us in 3 days, because we are currently experiencing a conditional peak in conversions right before Black Friday. Here you can see that on Sunday, November 19th, we had 33 purchases with a profitability of 1,500%. It will be significantly lower in the stops here, with 16 sales here, 11 here, compared to the 4 or 5 per day that we had before, roughly speaking. So here we even have the end of October, with 5 sales, somewhere 7 sales, and when we just started working with this client in June, even getting 5 sales a day was a stretch because it didn't allow for very fast scaling. Why didn't it allow for fast scaling? There are several reasons for this. The first is the prolonged duration of the purchasing process. This means that you can potentially reach all those who are just starting the purchasing process. For example, the first day, the second day, or you can focus only on those that are closest to the third day of purchase. Where do I get these numbers from? For example, Google itself can roughly outline for us based on the collected analytics. Now I will show you the report. All right, we have some not very presentable analytics here, approximately 1.3 days. But before this, the period was much longer, and there were 2.5 interactions per iteration before making a conversion. For example, this report shows that we had 16 purchases made after 5 interactions with our site. Each of these interactions costs a certain amount of money. Every interaction over the days also costs us a certain amount of money. Here, there's no way around it, so to speak. And it turns out that if we try to target everyone indiscriminately, our advertising will become very expensive. If we fail to reach some of the people who are already close to the conversion stage, it means we won't complete the cycle, and as a result, we will lose them. Working with Performance Max campaigns is both very engaging and interesting, but sometimes it can be challenging because, firstly, you don't get enough analytics on an hourly basis, and you need to track your changes over a certain post period. Secondly, I do not recommend simply inserting into calmness like Performance Max and just waiting for some slightly conditional period, expecting it to lead to some result. Because here we can see without the removed campaigns, there are exactly 42 Performance Max. Now, of course, there are exactly fewer of them. I will tell you exactly how many are currently active, which is, we have 20 active ones, yes. We have 20 active advertising campaigns, and there are new ones in testing. Not all of them yield proportional results in conversions, and not all of them provide proportional results in profitability. But in any case, what should we pay attention to? What do we do to achieve at least this volume of conversions? First, it is testing different structures for product content, Performance Max. In other words, one campaign for all products was not enough for us. Some of the products were profitable, while others were just wasting money without bringing any returns. So, this was a problem for us. Secondly, Amen. Testing different bid strategy options. For example, we even have advertising campaigns here for a single product, and they are focused on profitability, not on maximizing conversions. Profitability turned out to be the optimal strategy here, essentially for starting any advertising campaign, regardless of the structure. Second, at the moment, we only have 2 campaigns that contain content, meaning text, images, and videos. All other advertising campaigns are completely straightforward, meaning they are targeted directly only at the Google Shopping format, retargeting or targeting in the product listings. Next is a test of a very large volume of signals. That is, we have advertising campaigns that are completely without signals, and there are advertising campaigns that contain a specific set of signals. But let's take, for example, the first company by conversion volume. If we go into script, we will roughly see the picture that there is a signal to our data. For example, we take a company that is simply focused on Black Friday with products. It has no signal, and if we look at its approximate result, it gave 16 conversions directly, meaning one advertising campaign even without a signal. For example, we have companies that are focused on a single product position, just working on profitability, also without a signal. So, to give you a rough understanding of the test options, that is, various combinations of signals options. Also, the most resource-intensive and scalable option for us turned out to be testing different product combinations. So, what was our difficulty? If we launched one campaign, part of the products, some products, would turn into conversions, but now they are just being clicked through. When we isolated just a set of these products into a separate performance, they didn't always convert. So we developed a specific test for ourselves with various options of mixing different types of products together to identify what exactly converts. Since these are children's products, sometimes what is not entirely obvious to us can bring conversions. Next, the paradox in selling this product is that in regular trading companies, in Google Shopping, and in performance, the traffic is as clean as possible. Moreover, if we isolate a specific product category into a separate performance, the traffic becomes targeted. So we have the product name, and the query is specifically for this product, with no movements or anything else. This also presents a challenge because simply adding the product names to the signals, let's say, does not conditionally allow for an increase in the number of sales. Additionally, simply adding a list in remarketing as a targeting method sometimes narrowed our reach and did not allow for growth in conversions. But these lists are very useful, in principle, for scaling if you have some analytics. But we will be very careful. Because the next challenge for us was that we had product positions, cash cows, that were driving the main turnover. But because the overall dynamics of the list for those who converted had slightly different characteristics from the people we still need, from the people who could buy other product categories, it slightly hindered the performance of the rest from scaling. In other words, it's a whole set of different targeting options that are being tested here to somehow stabilize sales. Because some conversions could come into the advertising account with a delay, and sometimes advertising campaigns that seemed unprofitable were turned off, when in fact their profitability was even higher. As we can see the statistics for the last 30 days, it shows that the volume of conversions and profitability are significantly lower than they will be in about 3 days because the analytics will be recalculated. Sales are actually significantly higher because some sales through Shopify payments are not accounted for here, and profitability will be higher as it will be recalculated and conditionally added. In other words, I would describe this case as moderately complex, leaning towards more complex. Here, it won't be as simple as creating ad campaigns and having them immediately take off. That means there are still resources for improvement here, for instance, when it is necessary to improve profitability in certain categories, because some campaigns, for example, have just started their journey, like this one. The advertising campaign is essentially just starting out. Its profitability is still quite low, and accordingly, all of this needs to be managed and directed into certain channels. I want to emphasize once again that the project is by no means easy. It is complex. Challenges come from multiple directions and formats, and they still include certain things that, so to speak, indeed hinder further growth. Simply scaling up through the budget in these advertising campaigns doesn't always work. That's why we have so many of these Performance Max campaigns, so many different tests being conducted, and so many signal structure tests to simply stabilize this thing. I believe that by the time we reach the New Year sales, we will have grown even more and accumulated even more useful databases for our performance, to more easily get through the less seasonal sales period that will be in January. This is indeed a case where you don't see a very sharp rise, and you don't see any extremely super impressive profitability rates of 2,000 to 3,000%. There aren't 1,200 sales here yet, but I think we will reach 1,200 sales in a month. But there is piecemeal analytics that turns into a certain volume of turnover, which we have here, for example. I hope that we will increase it further in the next period.